Okay, good afternoon, members of the Fort Wayne Medical Society. Thank you for joining us once again for our webinar series. And if you haven't joined us before, I'll just go over a little bit of housekeeping. Please keep yourself muted, and I will watch that as well. Sometimes we're privy to some background noise that makes it hard for everyone to hear. And if you have a question for our speaker, and we encourage questions and dialogue, please ask that in the chat function. You can simply just type your question in the chat function, and at the end, or maybe if there's a moment during the presentation, we will work your questions in. And a quick plug here that our next webinar is November 6th at 12 p.m. And our next webinar is on legislative issues at the state level. We'll have some representatives and hopefully senators that will join us. Due to the pandemic, we were not able to have our very popular in-person legislative workshop that typically takes place in the middle of October. We weren't able to do that this year, so instead, like with so many other aspects of our lives, we will be doing it virtually, and that's on November 6th, just a few days after the election. And so it'll be an interesting chat for sure. With that said, we are so excited to touch on the topic of nutrition on the go, and we couldn't have a better person leading this discussion today. Kathy Wehrle works for Parkview Health, and her role there is lead community outreach registered dietitian nutritionist, which goes around onto the backside of her business card. And she is also a certified lifestyle medicine practitioner, and she's going to be presenting some nutrition on the go for us to know in our busy lives how we can stay healthy quickly. So with that, Kathy, I turn it over to you, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Yes, thank you for having me. It is such an honor to speak to this group, especially on a topic that I love so much, which is wellness, and to do it for our most beloved caregivers, our physicians in the area. So next slide, I'm going to go over a little bit what we're going to be talking about today, which really is twofold. I want to help you guys reboot some nutrition self-care. So just maybe some reminders of things that are important to do. I want to give you some energy boosting ideas. And I also want to boil down the latest on the power of nutrition and really think about some go-to resources for not only you, but also your patients or clients. Okay, next slide. Okay, I'm going to just talk a little bit about myself, which I'm not going to dwell on it for sure. I am a 30-year veteran of Parkview, and I've had a wide variety of clinical experience in inpatient and outpatient, but really have been the happiest and feel like I've hit my stride in the community health space. And just to tell you a little bit about myself too, I'm married, I'm a mom of 5 adult children, who also have children, and so we have a busy kind of life. We own a little property, and I'm trying to be a berry farmer, which is hilarious because I don't know, I completely respect the farmers here, but I'm trying to grow 250 berry bushes, and especially for the inner city kids in our area. So I am definitely a fresh food advocate, and I feel blessed to really be able to enhance lives and help bring someone to robust health, just like you guys do, and especially do this in our underserved community. So these are some of the community health improvement initiatives that kind of make my world spin. Not all of them are included here, but I wanted to tell you about the big ones. Many of you probably know about the HEAL engagement, which has been about a 6-year journey between Parkview and St. Joe Community Health Foundation to really uplift our community with food access, especially farmers markets and produce. There's a snapshot of one of our produce markets. So we run 2 of them in the inner city, and we also coordinate with the Southside Farmers Market on Warsaw Street. but they're strategically located so that we can reach the people that are most health marginalized and vulnerable, and we double the amount of produce they get if they use their SNAP card, EBT card, WIC voucher, or senior voucher. In fact, I need to tell you the good news today, that in our city over the next 4 years, we're going to be able to double SNAP produce purchases at more venues. In fact, coming up this fall, later this fall, we're going to be doubling at Save-A-Lot grocery stores on the Southeast, as well as many more farmers market. And this is due in part to a large USDA grant that we went for and we got, which is amazing. We do curriculum for community partners. Under normal circumstances, we reach about 35 inner city nonprofits, and we also reach inner city churches with the education that needs to go along with giving produce. So you can imagine healthy living, information, how to use the produce. I run a Veggie RX program as well, which is really like a prescription-based program where we're offering fruits and vegetables to those that are health marginalized and are underserved. This is a picture at the bottom of me with our farmer, Camille Shelke, at our greenhouse, which is on Beacon Street. We had this running for about 1.5 years, and we do produce food for not only our summer farm markets, but we produce food for some of our residents that are in programs like Veggie RX. A learning kitchen is attached to this building as well. So we'll give you some resources so you can check it out online. Okay, next slide. So you guys, today the topic for sure is nutrition from the lens of physician well-being. And a few years ago, there was a document published in Postgrad Med, which later made it to the British Medical Journal, that really looked at the evidence on how nutrition and hydration is affected in our physicians. And we know that balanced eating is really crucial for those that really have important work that impacts the safety of others. And it's for you physicians that I'm talking about. But think about even, commercial pilots, they do a lot with their wellness and hydration so that they can stay perfectly sharp. And our brain is a metabolic machine. You guys know this so well, and it runs best on quality nutrition. So I just really want to make sure that we have to tell you that, the timing with which you eat and the composition of your meals and snacks really does affect cognitive performance. If we have, inadequate food intake, so we don't have the correct timing done or the correct amounts, we are irritable, we are frustrated, we have cognitive impairments, such as difficulty concentrating, and in our decision making is not as good. In fact, one study showed that only 47% of physicians can really take regular meal breaks. So we need to begin to change that. Okay, next slide.
Sorry, I'm having a technical issue here. Stand by.
No problem. It looks like we have some writing on our slides.
I know.
That's okay.
I'll work on that.
Oh, don't worry. No worry. So you guys, just to go into what is obvious, the standard American diet is risky to our health. It does set us up for chronic disease, but really it has so many more effects too, other than just long-term chronic disease. It affects our functioning, like in the immediate presence. And think about diets that are high in fat or sugar can really disrupt your circadian rhythm. And that can make you feel groggy. We know that heavy nighttime eating can affect alertness the next day and increase your risk of weight gain and metabolic disorders. So we really need you to begin to think about it. And you know what? When you don't eat well, you don't feel great. And we know that when you begin to start nourishing your body correctly, your body wakes up and it starts feeling amazing. Think about hydration. Even mild hydration can impair attention, your short-term memory, makes you feel tired and sluggish. And remember, as you guys all well know, the Institute of Medicine tells us that the adequate intake for fluids as beverages is 3,000 mils for men and 2,200 rather for women. So that equates to 12 and a half cups to 9 cups for women. So what I want to do is really just engage you on thinking about the workaround for these barriers. So first of all, we want you to think about, just becoming aware. Think about when you lack time, which is a huge part of I'm sure your daily track. Think about how a lot of you do not have accessibility to the right foods that might fuel your nutrition goals. And think about sometimes you've been in a culture that really did de-emphasize self-care. Okay, next slide. So let's talk about some nutrition priorities, and we definitely need to talk about the timing of eating and hydration. Most people do the best by eating meals every 4 hours or 5 hours. You start stretching it out between then, you actually then begin to feel not as well. Snacks will be key. Some people really do best with a well-placed midday snack or a mid-morning snack. Others choose not to, but if your meal is delayed, a snack is especially important. And think about it with your fluid needs. Now, granted, we don't drink perfect amounts during the day, but between 1 to 1.5 cups of fluid is really needed every few hours for us to be hydrated during our waking time. The quality of meals is important. 3 review studies have shown us that diets high in unprocessed plant foods and seafood reduce the risk of cognitive impairment and depression. So I'll go into that in a little bit. One other thing I want to tell you is just to use caffeine strategically. It can improve definitely cognitive performance with very low health risks for most people. And the amount is about 40 to 400 milligrams a day. I'm a caffeine addict, I must say, not horrible, but if I don't get my morning cup of coffee, I'm not real happy. Certainly avoid caffeine later in the day, considering the half-life of caffeine is between 2.5 to 4.5 hours. So next slide. Now we're going to begin coming up to talk about just some more nutrition TLC. It is fundamental to how we feel, and we have to think about planning. And I know you're thinking, oh, that's so obvious, but most people don't do this. And it's, a plan does make us feel confident. And especially if we know that food may or may not be readily accessible, we have to be thinking, if we don't have this food available, we have to come with food. So think about, though, before you leave, starting with a healthy breakfast. I'm going to be giving you some examples later in the talk. We're not talking maybe food that we grew up on, back in the day, smoky links, Eggos, all kinds of heavy meats and refined. I don't know if you guys remember the cereal Quisp or Captain Crunch. My mother fed me that. Oh my, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things that will add vitality and good health to you, such as things like steel-cut oats with berries and walnuts. We're talking tofu, veggie scramble, sprouted grain bread, smoothies, things that can really enhance your brain power. We want you to think about a well-balanced lunch, which would include fruit and veggies, whole grains, beans, or healthy protein. And the key is, so that you don't get that post-meal slump midday, is to think about what might be considered low glycemic. So it's not rapidly transmitted into glucose so fast. So we're talking whole, intact grains. We're using more beans. That avoids that post-meal sleepiness for sure. So instead of fettuccine Alfredo, which we dietitians call heart attack on a plate affectionately, we would like you to think about things like spinach salad, lentil soup, a veggie burger with a side of broccoli and sweet potatoes. The key is whether you can get this at your facility. is up to you. Now, I do know, they do provide physician lunches at major health systems that have increasingly healthier amounts of choices, which is great. But you may need to pack, and especially you may need to pack your snacks, make sure you have the right hydration on board. So whether that's in your backpack, in your messenger bag, or whatever, think about bringing food with you. And I want to just say too that, we are creatures of habit, and a lot of times we don't like new ideas, but I want you guys to have an open mind and really think through your barriers. You have to, if you're going to succeed. And in order to change and grow, you have to do things that are kind of a pain and uncomfortable, but that's where the magic happens. And you guys set goals, because we like to work on our goals, don't we? So set goals simply for improving your nutrition. Be specific. Start talking about, like, okay, I'm going to pack my lunch 3 out of the 5 days this week. I'm going to bring snacks every day. That's a good start. Okay, next slide. So you guys, the reality is most of what we eat is a threat to our health. I know that sounds scary, but just look at the food in that big ball that's about ready to crush people. Diet-related diseases are the #1 cause of poor health in America. So really, it's no wonder that we're in the midst of a massive health crisis where 70% of us are overweight or obese. And they even say that 100 million of us will have diabetes by 2050. So we have an epidemic coming, a tsunami, as people say. But the reality really is that the power is in a healthy lifestyle. And that really is the medicine that can prevent 80 to 90% of chronic disease. So we need healthcare providers that continually get rebooted and trained in this massive reality related to diet-related diseases. Okay, next slide. So, if truly poor diet is one of the leading causes of premature death and disability, which accounts for trillions of dollars of healthcare spending, we really need to think about our diet in a bigger way. So we want, of course, for us to think about minimizing and helping our patients and helping ourselves minimize the pathogenic dietary components, such as excess saturated fat, sodium, refined carbs, and trans fat, which is prolific everywhere. In every corner, 24 hours a day, food like this is available. We want you to consider in your own life maximizing the protective dietary components. Look at all those natural plant foods that are full of fiber, phytochemicals, the natural plant chemicals in foods, enzymes, anti-inflammatory compounds, and pre and probiotics. And just remember that these foods, plant foods, have 64 times the antioxidants that animal foods have. That's powerful. So we want you guys to remember that. And we'll take the next slide. So what can really be the remedy? It is for us to really espouse the principles of lifestyle medicine. Thank goodness in my career, I am seeing lifestyle medicine come to the forefront. And granted, it's been popping up every so often, but now there is just this united movement worldwide to really pay attention to the power of lifestyle habits. Because truly, if we're dealing with the majority of chronic disease being diet related, we must look at the root cause of disease. And you as physicians are healers. We want you guys to think about the healing power that not only prevents disease as we know it today, but can halt it in its track, arrest it, and even know that it can reverse disease. It is so, so powerful. And again, many physicians involved in lifestyle medicine know the power of diet. In fact, they think that it really is probably one of the most important lifestyle habits in the chart right here that I'm showing you. But you know what? I have to tell you that many physicians they may not feel confident in really speaking deeply about nutrition, and it just harkens to us needing to make sure that changes, that we need more education and curriculum in med schools, And I think also many think that our patients won't adopt this. They won't go through the trouble of learning how to really clean up their kitchen and restructure their eating. But I got to tell you, that's not true. A lot of patients, if you had the choice and you told them, they would be serious about changing their diet so that they wouldn't have to take 5 medicines or go under the knife. And I think you might be surprised at how many, once you say the word, how many patients respond to that. The key is going to be resources, though, and I'll talk about that. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine really is the coalition worldwide of clinicians that are upholding true healthcare reform by talking about lifestyle habits. So I encourage you guys to go on the website. I'm going to give you the website coming up in a little bit. And I just want to finally just talk about how our duty really is to speak the truth, isn't it? And it is if we know that healthy lifestyle and especially diet-related education that we can provide our patients can really begin to turn around their health trajectory, we have to encourage that and reinforce it time and time again and tell them the truth of what is really a safe and completely effective intervention that has no side effects, only good side effects. Okay, next slide. Okay, and again, lifestyle medicine uses evidence-based therapeutic approaches, whole food, a plant predominant lifestyle, along with physical activity, regular physical activity, restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connections, again, for treatment and reversal. Okay, next slide. So I want to we're going to start digging into the food a little bit more. I want to talk about food guidance as it stands in the US and Canada. You're probably aware that every 5 years, the dietary guidelines for Americans comes out. Later this fall, we'll be finally seeing the 2020 to 2025 dietary guidelines. And these are really published for policymakers and clinicians to inform them on how we can help our Americans improve their overall eating patterns. And of course, USDA provides the Choose My Plate platform, which is a real basic way to look at food balance. And again, I guess the negative would be, in past years, very agriculture heavy food guidance, whereas I want to just bring up the fact that many today are looking at Harvard's healthy eating plate, which is shown in the middle, which gives more information on what the evidence is really showing. So it might talk about healthier protein, like not using red meat, doing a little bit more with, completely avoiding processed meats, learning more about what whole grains are, more vegetables. They're talking a little bit about using less dairy, etc. So as we move on over to the far right, though, this is actually Canada's new food plate that came out, I believe, last year or the year before. And Canada was bold. They actually said, we have to follow the evidence. We've got to start moving away from milk and meat so much and really talk about alternate protein sources, not only for the health of our nation, but for the health of our planet. And so they came up with this beautiful pictorial of a plate that really emphasizes plenty of vegetables, a little bit less meat, more creative protein sources, and what whole grains really look like. Okay. Let's look at the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about the True Health Initiative. Many of you might know about Dr. David Katz, who is who's been head of the Yale Prevention Initiative. I really like his work because he has created a global coalition really aimed at creating a world free of preventable disease. So noble. And he just says, I'm doing that because we have, fundamental information that has not changed. And here it says, the core principles of healthy living, they're well established. They're evidence-based. They're a product of global consensus, and they're immediately actionable. You know, and he simply says that there's just so many competing agendas and motivation that obscure these simple truths, and we just need to all work together on it. So you guys check out Dr. Katz's True Health Initiative. He's got, you know, brilliant work that he's done on this initiative. Okay, but let's move on to talking about food a little bit more. Next slide. We just want to say, physicians, that we need your brain power. We want you to fuel it in just saturate it with great nutrition. So we want, again, to emphasize the nature of what whole foods really are, which are foods as grown, foods that contain all the components that nature has provided. They're fiber filled, they're nutrient dense, they're antioxidant rich, and again, moving toward, again, the movement is toward predominantly plant foods and thinking about whole plant fats. And the idea is to think about making every bite count. So as you eat, is it going to enhance your health or take away from your health? Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some snack ideas and with some fun pictures. Then we're going to talk about meals coming up too. But think about, I think about how desperate you feel when you're hungry. You'll go for anything that's not moving, you'll eat, which might be on nurses, you know, on the nursing unit. It might be, you know, snacks in the break room that are not desirable. It could be find the vending machine and see things that are not desirable. So I'm an advocate of taking food with you, which means you might be, you know, again, you know, having a creative little backpack that you pack. But think about snacks that don't need refrigeration are such as these. So Mary's Gone Crackers is a great whole food cracker made with brown rice and quinoa and sesame seeds and flax and all that stuff. Very nutty, very easy to pack. And boy, when you eat a cracker, you really feel like you're eating something. You know, take some almond butter along with it. There's pouches of almond butter or peanut butter that you could do. You can buy some dried chickpeas that give you a protein boost. There are prepackaged hummuses that don't need refrigerated. Again, the pictures speak for themselves. There are all kinds of bars that are more whole food, like the Lara bar, for example. Think about veggies and fruits that you can take that are sturdy. I know you probably never heard of sturdy veggies and fruits, but I'm talking about packing things that will be fine without refrigeration, that aren't delicate. So we're talking about carrot, celery, pea pods, fresh broccoli and cauliflower, apples, oranges, bananas, grapes, blueberries, and even, gosh, I even see like organic freeze-dried fruit at my local health food store. You know, little bags of nuts, air pop popcorn, make your own trail mix, and even any kind of bars or power balls, especially the ones you make and can control the ingredients, would be awesome. Okay, next slide. So you guys, this is a handout that I can also make available to you. This was kind of a collaboration I had with the cardiology dietitians. And it really helps someone kind of think about how they can take a stepwise approach in improving their eating. So far left side, just a handout of, you know, I mean, a column of what you used to eat. Better choice is in the middle, and then best choice on the far right. So again, this would be taking it all the way to plant-based choices. So there's, you know, lunch and dinner ideas as well as breakfast ideas in this sheet. Okay, and then as we move on to our next slide, think of these, you guys. So when we talk about the term whole food, think about how that could really look in your eating. So instead of just toasting an English muffin, why not try a sprouted bread like Ezekiel 4:9, which is frozen, but you toast it. Angelic Bakery has some sprouted breads as well. Instead of instant oats, how about an overnight soaked steel cut oats with fruit? And again, the list goes on. Basically, we're just doing a swap. Instead of eggs, try a veggie tofu scramble. Instead of white pasta, maybe a bean-based pasta, or even better, a cooked wild or brown rice. And I know, people reach for all those frozen veggie burgers, but why not look at one that really is made with complete whole foods, such as Hillary's or Dr. Prager's, versus Boca being like an isolated soy protein burger. Here's a swap for crackers. I think about a lot of people put protein powder in their smoothies, which you can definitely do better than whey protein powder. You can go to a pea protein powder, but even better, eat the protein. Have your dried garbanzo beans or your nuts, a cold lentil salad. Think about using air popcorn with chili powder, nutrition yeast, whatever, instead of chips. The key too, as you think about, your grains is intact. Think about using things that are less ground into flour and more natural. So instead of even a whole wheat, let's say bread, if you could find something that actually has more of intact, or like cooked, cracked wheat. And again, think of, pilafs and things with quinoa and millet, etc. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I want to talk just a tad as we finish about immune issues, which is the topic of the day in the news. And we know that chronic inflammation, really is devastating to health. And we are never so aware of this as we talk about COVID, but we want to talk about really immunity. And we know that a lot of experts agree there's a lot of dysregulation happening with our immune systems due to environmental insults. And so let's talk about what foods can we eat that will really keep us healthy, keep our immune system up. And I'm not neglecting, of course, the benefit of good sleep and exercise. But when it comes to food, we have to think about, again, whole food, fiber. It feeds our good bacteria in our gut, and we know how important that microbiome is. So fruits and veggies, whole grains and legumes. What gets us into trouble for sure with our immune system is the processed foods, the red meat, the sweets that just boost inflammation. I want to remind you guys about the power of berries. Any berries, eat them. They are extremely immune boosting, as are mushrooms. Do you guys know when you just have a regular serving of mushrooms, even like a small amount daily, it can increase your immune boosting cells by 58%, I believe one study showed. So we want you to eat, especially the Asian mushrooms like the shiitakes. Always cook them, but any mushrooms, even button mushrooms, portobellos, baby bellos are great. There are tons of immune enhancing properties in these veggies. Garlic, tons of wonderful anti-microbial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory compounds in garlic. You want to take a fresh garlic clove, press it and let it rest for 10 minutes, and you get all those compounds that help you. So my husband and I, we eat garlic every day. Cruciferous veggies are the broccoli family. So we're talking broccoli, cauliflower, kale, even is a cruciferous, bok choy, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, walnuts, eat them, as we recommend also pomegranate. Fermented food like kimchi, which is fermented, mostly cabbage, etc. But there's also fermentation that you can get through kombucha, the drink kombucha. And also think about yogurt or fermented. You can do even a non-dairy yogurt, and also like a refrigerated cabbage, sauerkraut is fermented. And then the power of vitamin D is going to make sure you're in good vitamin D status. Okay, next slide. You guys, here's a place to find some food ideas. So again, we want you guys to think about moving away from the typical American diet to thinking about at least lightening up the saturated fat, increasing intact whole grains and whole foods, abundance of fruits and vegetables in your eating. You may decide you were not gonna give up meat, but at least maybe it's gonna be fish or the breast of chicken. So if you want to consider, there's 2 sites I'm listing there, drannwellness.com/recipes. She is a wellness physician out of South Carolina, I believe, that's got some great content and information, really believes in the power of nutrition. And then Cuisinicity is a website that's actually Dr. David Katz's wife, and it's fabulous. Dr. Dean Ornish has a sample 3-day menu if you want to check it out. You know, he has the groundbreaking, he did the lifestyle heart trials where he showed reversal of heart disease. His menus are predominantly plant-based. He does use a tiny bit of egg white and a tiny bit of yogurt, but largely you'll find some amazing recipes right there on the sample menu. And then if you go all the way to wanting to be completely plant-based, oil-free, check out plantstrong.com, which is Dr. Esselstyn's son, Rip. This is his work through Engine 2, which was is his website, and he's written a host of books as well as Forks Over Knives. And I apologize, I did repeat myself on that last slide, on that last entry. So check out these, and if we can go to the next slide too, as we wrap up, I want to give you guys some resources. I know I flew through a whole lot of information, but I really want to just, first of all, say many of you need to rely on your registered dietitians. You know, we study food, we know food, most of them have master's degrees. Not every dietitian, however, is acquainted with the burgeoning field of lifestyle medicine. So I just want to, you know, simply say, you know, to if you can refer to a dietitian for your patients to get help, you know, do talk to them about lifestyle medicine, and search out those that are aware of lifestyle medicine, or contact me and I can help out in some way. But Nutrition Facts, real quick, is my first source right there, and it is a science-based public service that really looks at the research, the nutrition research. So they have over 1,000 videos on that site. They have some blogs. It's done by Dr. Michael Greger, who's one of the pioneers in lifestyle medicine. Especially you guys watch the introductory videos, which you scroll down on his site in the bottom left, you'll see it. He is the doctor that wrote How Not to Die. And, you know, every year he reviews 10,000 medical articles, journal articles on human nutrition that are in English, which is quite a bit. So he knows his stuff, and I highly recommend you check it out. Lifestylemedicine.org is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine's website. Again, it's increasing. There's 3,000 physicians that are on, well, 3,000 members, I should say, which are physicians largely, but there's also PAs, NPs, RDs, you name it. So check that out. I'm giving the website for Harvard School of Public Health. They have quite extensive information on nutrition. It's in the field called the Nutrition Source, so please check it out. I feel like they do a really nice job. Of course, I work at Parkview, so I must plug Parkview Center for Healthy Living. Again, right now it's tricky because we're doing mostly Zoom stuff, but we do have a Powered by Plants meetup. That is through Zoom right now, but that we have 2 of them a month, and we encourage you guys, if anybody is interested in hearing a little bit from a couple of different of our lifestyle medicine physicians, they can just join on, hear a topic, and also talk to the group and ask questions. We also do a service called Ask the Dietitian. It's free. And again, I'm giving the phone number for more information or to register. We also, at our greenhouse and learning kitchen, we do Zoom classes, and there's a link for that as well. And we have the phone number if anyone is interested in searching out Parkview's Cardiovascular Health and Wellness Clinic. I'm throwing their and this is just a tidbit of all the resources that I could have put on here. I mean, we have an integrative medicine clinic, and many physicians are really speaking the word on changing lifestyles in their practices. So more to be coming on that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. As we wrap up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a local nonprofit called Live Healthy Hoosiers. They run a CHIP program, which stands for the Complete Health Improvement Program, which is a intensive lifestyle change program. that's usually held, I think, at North Manchester School of Pharmacy. But CHIP is taught nationwide. There's tons of research, research studies that uphold the CHIP program as evidence-based and definitely causing change. But that is something that is taught locally, as well as there's a variety of other programs being formulated as part of Live Healthy Hoosiers, Energy Refueled, which would be a shorter program than CHIP. Culinary RX, which would be blending lifestyle medicine information along with the power of cooking and learning how to prepare food. There's information that you can find out about corporate performance. And coming eventually in 21, I believe there's going to be some information on even some local lifestyle immersions, which means that there are places and really they're around the country where physicians can send their patients, or you can go yourself to a place, whether it be it might be at a corporate retreat, or might be somewhere beautiful, a hotel, somewhere beautiful, where there's a group of physicians and health practitioners leading people through intensive lifestyle change. And it's amazing because labs, blood pressure, blood sugar changes within just a few days. And these can last from a few days to a week to 10 days. There's oversight. That Live Healthy Hoosiers also has a Live Healthy Summit. We've had Dr. Esselstein here. We've had Dr. Michael Greger here. They also run a corporate 5K. And there's virtual opportunities that can happen soon with anything that Live Healthy Hoosiers they're involved in, excuse me, and in person later in 2021. So there's the website for Live Healthy Hoosiers, and check it out. And you guys, next slide, as we kind of wrap up. I really want you guys to think about better self-care. And I love this tagline from ACLM, which is really so powerful. We want you to know more. We want you to think about healing more. And we want you to think about really living more vitality, with more vibrancy. And to my physician colleagues, really adding life to your years and years to your life, for you as physicians, as well as the patients you serve. And then as we finish up, my last slide, I just want to say, I hope we gave you some new ideas to ponder. And we hope that they grow and develop just like that little sprout. We want you to hopefully consider today how powerful nutrition and hydration are for your well-being. And to as much of an extent as possible, we want you guys to plan and make this a priority. Plan your eating, plan your fuel, and really think about the seminal research that's coming to light on lifestyle medicine. Use it for your own good and also for your patients. We really want to, I want to finally end and just say, as a call to action, continue to be a powerful influencer for lifestyle change. It's the only thing that really matters, right? It is health. Health is wealth. Okay, you guys, my contact's at the bottom of this slide, but I would love to address questions.
All right, and I will stop the screen share here. While we're waiting for questions to come in, I am going to ask one of myself. That was terrific, Kathy. Thank you so much. I really got a lot out of that. So hypothetical for you, Kathy, one of our members is driving to work. They did not pack their bag like you suggested. Maybe there's not good options at the cafeteria. They're on limited time. They have to pull into a fast food restaurant. What is your go-to fast food selection or two? Or maybe the answer is just keep driving and go to work hungry.
Or maybe go to a grocery store. No, I understand.
How could we make a healthy selection quickly at a fast food place? Is it possible?
Is it possible? Oh gosh. For breakfast, are you talking about, Joel? For breakfast?
I was thinking lunch, but anything.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. For lunch. Okay. So I would say, you know what comes to mind, I don't know that they're super, super fast, but Panera, they do have bowls, quinoa bowls. They have a variety of salads, even made with edamame. You could even ask like, hey, I don't want the chicken, or just give me half the chicken in my salad. But I think of Panera being a little bit more progressive, I think corporately than some restaurants are. I would say, you know, I don't go, I don't eat fast food. So I guess I'm not maybe the exact right one to ask. I know for breakfast, some fast food restaurants do have oats with berries. But again, you'd have to exactly tell them, don't add sugar to it. Cause I think some of them come with brown sugar. But oats
Right.
and berries. And I mean, I do know, again, you know, sweetened yogurt with fruit is way better than the sausage biscuits gravy plate. I would
Right.
say salads by and large can be a pretty decent go-to, especially if they have the deep leafy greens in them and they're not made with iceberg lettuce. I think, you know, some places have wraps, and oh gosh, I think, yeah, I think, you know, Wendy's has baked potatoes. I don't think there's
Right.
anything super healthy on them. But yeah, I think it, you know, the key when you go out to eat is that you be bold and you just tell your server, if I mean, granted, the fast food window is not the place to really go into an expose about what you want, but tell them what you want. I think, you know, usually even a fine dining restaurant, you can, you know, skim the menu, look at side dishes that seem entertaining. You know, a lot of places have scratch kitchens. You know, Baker Street and Chops, they have scratch kitchens. They will make what you want. You just have to be bold enough to tell them and be creative with it. So yeah, I think I can, yeah, those are just a few of my ideas. I think, yeah, I think it's
Well,
tricky.
that was my intention was not to put you on the spot there. That you
That's
probably
okay.
haven't been to a fast food in years.
Yeah, right. It's true. Yeah.
But no, I think that's a great answer. I wanted to ask you that just because sometimes we just have this window of time, and I know our doctors sometimes just have a window of time, and the only, you know, you're driving by Jefferson Point on your way to
Yeah.
Lutheran, and
Yeah.
there's a Wendy's, there's a Chick-fil-A, and
Yes. Yeah.
I
I
will
know.
say Panera Bread now with the pandemic and everything, you can place your order on your phone. You pull up to the curb and they come out and hand it to you. So that's pretty handy.
Yeah.
So a question on intermittent fasting. There's been a lot of chatter about this, and want to make sure that I am educating my patients thoroughly. So you know, it seems like we're in the same realm. Everything that you spoke to with the less oil and the whole foods, it seems like just a step away from that is this concept of intermittent fasting. And I wonder where, it's a great question, and I wonder where you fall on all that.
Yeah, well, I think the research points that it is effective, especially for weight control. I think what's doable is more of a 12-hour window, like a 7 to 7, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The idea is, I think it still holds true, even though at one time it was questionable, but I think it still holds true that the more you can push up your eating early in the day and then lighten that dinner meal, all the better. It's the opposite of what most Americans do, but also, you know, just to reinforce my point about planning ahead, we don't think of eating light at night at all, because usually we just try to have 3 meals earlier or 2 meals earlier in the day. So, but I think a 7, you know, I think you know, depending on what your work schedule is, I think about a 7 to a 7. A 12-hour fast over the night is effective for your health and can help with weight loss or weight stability. I know some physicians have even, you know, tried to squeeze the window between 8 to 10 hours. And that's that's the only time you eat is between 8 to 10 hours during the daytime. But no, I think it's effective. It is. The research is I think, unfolding and coming out pretty strong.
So in that 7 to 7 scenario, you're stopping eating at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
and you're, eventually going to be sleeping through most of that. And then you wake up at 7 a.m. So that's 12 hours. And then you would begin to eat again.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. And usually, I mean, most people, wake up and if you just start your eating at 7, if you have to wake up at 5:30 to get to work early, or, to check patients or whatever, start your eating at 7. But yeah, you don't, I guess the tricky part is you want to make sure you match it with, like if you do physical activity in the morning, you're going to need to make sure that you match your eating, start up your eating soon after you finish your physical activity, because you will crash and it's not, so I think that's a good recommendation. It's safe. Again, I've heard from some of the lifestyle medicine physicians that really do need people to really, spur on their weight loss. They're even tightening it up in an 8 to 10 hour window as well.
And another great question, specifically pointed to the busy lives of doctors. Do you have recommendations for a personal chef or a meal prep service in the Fort Wayne area?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say I don't exactly know of a personal chef. The meal prep services that I think of are ones that are national, like
Okay.
Sprinley and Hungry Root and all that stuff. Some of the meal services that are a little bit more plant-based may use oil, though, that you would have to modify as you cook. Some of them are pre-done, meaning this meal delivery to your door. Pre-made meals. Some of them you actually have to cook. But gosh, for a personal chef, I can probably get back with you.
Okay.
I have a colleague actually that did, I'm not sure where she's at, but I have a colleague that has gone through Dr. Neil Barnard's Food for Life program that used to deliver in Fort Wayne once a week, plant-based meals. Now, whether she still does it or not, but that would be something I could check out for you. You could get to
that would be good. And that's a good segue into that. We will be sending along your slides.
Okay.
And we will be sending along a link to this chat.
Okay.
So, okay. Another good question is we really are in maybe the golden era of carbonated sparkling drinks. We're talking about, I think this example will be without alcohol, but bubbly and La Croix, they are still carbonated and give us that zing that we love. But are they truly better than soda?
Oh yeah. From a sugar standpoint, yeah, of course, 100% yes, because they're usually naturally flavored, no sugar, and so you just, basically they don't taste sweet. They just taste, taste kind of refreshing with a hint of flavor. So much better choice. In fact, my personal favorite, I buy the Kroger, I think it's the organic Simply Truth bubbly water that is tangerine and lemongrass. It's amazing.
Okay.
So we, like I might occasionally do, a fruit spritzer that makes me happy, which might be a little tart cherry juice, which is only an ounce or 2 of tart cherry juice along with my carbonated water. And then sometimes I even throw a little extra water. So you just have a little bit more flavor. You're not getting a big load of natural sugar from the fruit. And yeah, I bless that. I think it's good.
Okay, and that's a pretty good lead in. This will be a last call for questions, folks. So type them in the chat if you've got any last concerns. And I loved the Canadian government visual of that plate. That is just so, you can just look at it and it just makes sense. But one thing that was maybe missing off that plate that I wanted to get your opinion on is, what's a sweet treat that falls into this healthy, whole food, less oil eating.
Yeah. So, of course, you know, fruit is your number one go-to, but think about if you want to have fruit in different forms. So think about, you know, a healthy berry crumble, or even a healthier version of a pumpkin pie, which will be coming up for Thanksgiving. Think about, you know, how you could, you know, tote organic dried fruit with you. Although it's very heavy and dense, you wouldn't want to eat a lot. It does have a intense sweetness about it, as do dates. So what I'm seeing in progressive recipes that are, you know, whether they be for a brownie or something, is they're sweetening things with date paste. Which provides that whole food antioxidant that you don't get when you makes things with sugar. So I would say, you know, recipes that also have like a muffin with oats and blueberries and maybe shredded zucchini, way better, and makes, you know, kind of gives you that big taste and happiness that you might be missing from your kind of your go-to cookies. But I mean, you can make healthful cookies out of oats and bananas, and you can make bars out of black beans and little dark chocolate. So those are the more things I'm thinking of, is, you know, to enhance your foods with, you know, a variety of whole plant foods that still make you happy. Yeah. And bars, I mean, gosh, oats along with a little honey and peanut butter, throwing in some dried fruit. Gosh, there you have your own energy bar. And I guess, too, this is a new subject, but I did want to bring this up, that if someone wants to really jump in and figure out all those whole food plant-based eating, you know, Dr. Greger does have an app called The Daily Dozen, and I highly recommend it, just because it's a great place to see during a day's time what food should be eaten and kind of what amounts. So it's just kind of baseline information, but it goes into great detail. And he also has a place where you can jump to his 21 weight loss tweaks as well, if you're interested in that. So I wanted to bring that up as well.
Okay,
Kathy,
well,
Kathy,
Oh,
can
yeah.
you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Tell me, this is Dr. Griffith asking you. Tell me about steel cut oatmeal. I eat just plain old oatmeal of mornings.
Okay.
What about the steel cut?
Okay, well, I tell you what, I love that you eat regular old oats, but if you think about like the hierarchy, the more natural it can be, the better. So, you know, even if you, let's say you're eating quick oats, move up to old-fashioned oats, but even better, steel cut oats, because it has, you know, it is more closely resembling what oats were in nature. And steel cut oats, I tell you what, I got hooked on them a couple of years ago, and there's no going back. I mean, they do take 30 minutes to cook, but they taste so delicious. And you can even soak them overnight. And there's lots of recipes for overnight oats, soaking them in almond milk or soy milk, adding fruit to it. But yeah, try steel cut oats. And again, you can make them in the crock pot the night before. You can cook them on the stove on simmer as you're trying to get ready for your day. But I love them. I highly recommend, especially some organic ones.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
In steel oats, Kathy, they're right next to all the other oats in the grocery aisle.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, the idea is the more intact of the grain, the slower release into glucose, and you get that beautiful fullness, and they're fabulous. And then I did see a question real quick about sweeteners. You know, stevia is used. I guess the question is, can you use too much stevia? Do you know what? I would say, you know, the idea is to try to ramp your taste buds to not requiring so much sweet. I think stevia is now popular. If you choose Truvia, though, that is kind of like a genetically modified stevia. that comes from Monsanto. So you might want to choose a more natural stevia. But I do know Dr. Esselstyn uses maple syrup in some of his salad dressings and recipes, whereas Gregor and some of the other lifestyle medicine physicians use date paste, which is simply whole dates with a little hot water over them to plump them up, and then they're spun in a blender. And I do know that xylitol is a sugar alcohol that can be used in place of sugar, that is safe in small quantities. So
very good. And we are at our hour, so we all thank you very much, Kathy, for your time. This was great, and it's a wonderful PowerPoint that we will be sending around. And if I may end, one more question for you, perhaps the most important that I ask, and it's just a yes or no response, and that is, have you been to the new Trader Joe's?
no, I didn't know it was open, actually. I don't live on that side of town, so no.
Okay.
But it is
It's
open.
open. It's wonderful. Lots of good choices.
Okay,
So.
well, thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, and thanks again, Kathy, for your time. And Kathy has graciously provided her email for follow-up questions and all those things. We thank you for a wonderful webinar today, and thanks to everyone who attended us live, and thank you to those who will be watching on our private YouTube channel. And until next time, which is November 6th, we will sign off. So thanks again to everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.